Hola, and welcome back to Pushbox Banter. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Craig, and we're here to talk about F1 racing and all that implies. And this weekend, the Spanish Grand Prix
Yes.
in Barcelona.
In Barcelona.
Yeah, yes, if you're in Barcelona, that's exactly how you pronounce it. Yes.
You don't like my Catalan?
No, I love it. I'm just not good at imitating it and replicating it. Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
So very interesting week. Lots of stuff happening.
All sorts of craziness went on in Barcelona. I mean, last week we had Monaco, and it was basically a parade after the qualification. But this week, got action in the race, good stuff going on throughout, or at least off and on. So, and in quali. So, what do you want to talk about first? There's a lot to talk about here.
There is a lot to talk about.
So much.
Let's talk about our Q1 king.
Ah, yes, our Q1 king. Yes, Lance Stroll.
That's right. Okay, so what happened to Lance Stroll?
Well, this week he actually dominated Q1 for him and got into Q2. So, yes.
Congratulations, Lance Stroll.
I'm very happy for Lance Stroll on that achievement this week. So, but then after that, he does not make it to Q3. Unfortunately, their car. I mean, in his defense, their car has not been at the top of the lineup this year. So this time, apparently, after qualifying, he gets out of the car, and there are rumors about a temper tantrum of sorts.
Yes, that's right. That's what I heard.
Yes. So apparently that's, behind closed doors, things being thrown around. I don't know.
Equipment being smashed.
Equipment being smashed. Who knows how and what? Who knows the validity of that? But there are some reports of that.
Allegedly,
yes. However, when asked about that, the team, because then Lance Stroll, he withdraws.
That's right. He withdraws from the race.
Yes, and he withdraws from the Grand Prix because of injuries. Like his wrists are giving him problems that he had injured back on a bicycle accident in 2023.
That's right.
And so, and so the question is, did he injure them in his temper tantrum, and that's what was causing it? And the team said, no, that's not what's causing it, that it's been an ongoing issue that he's been having this year, but it's progressively gotten worse. And that he didn't feel like it would be, I don't know if they said this specifically, but basically the implication was he didn't feel like it would be safe for him to continue with the level of pain that it was at. Now, that makes the question. I mean, people still are questioning, like, was it the temper tantrum that pushed it over the edge, or was it already there? Was that part of the temper tantrum? That he was
frustration,
upset, that frustration, because we give him a lot of
heat.
Yeah, we give him a lot of heat for being daddy's boy and this and that. But in reality, he is a competitor, and he really loves to compete. Back in 2023, if you watch the Netflix Drive to Survive,
that's right.
It showed how really torn up he was, that he wasn't potentially going to be able to start the season, and then he made sure that he did, and pushed himself to be able to race when he may not have been totally completely ready for it. And there was a lot of pain through it too.
And that's probably the reason why he's suffering now.
It could be.
Let his body heal.
Possibly. Yeah. There's some things, like when you start putting metal pins and plates in your body, that sometimes after a few years that it will start causing pain again.
Yeah.
There's things that shift around. So he's apparently undergoing a procedure to help alleviate that. I don't know if he'll be ready for his home race in Montreal that's in 2 weeks. So we'll see.
We'll see. If he has to go through a procedure, who knows how that's going to turn out.
Right.
Especially if it's a corrective procedure,
That's true. But I'm assuming that since, they do have almost unlimited funds on their side, he should get some very, very excellent medical treatment and care before and after.
Canada has a social healthcare system, so it should be okay.
I doubt that he'll even have to worry about that.
But, it's not like
you never know. You never know.
True. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, it was sad to see, and unfortunately, he withdrew after qualifying, which meant there wasn't a replacement driver.
Right. So I think if he had withdrawn in the middle of Q2 and had the reserve driver jump in the car and at least take one lap, then that reserve driver could have driven in the Grand Prix.
Interesting.
But because the reserve driver didn't compete in the qualification, then he couldn't. I might be a little off on that, but the reserve driver would have had to have been in qualification for that. So I'm not sure if once he started qualification, if they could have had the reserve driver. So don't hate on me too much if I'm wrong on those regs.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, but in a nutshell, that's why.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
There you go.
So
Aston Martin had one driver in the race.
Yes.
Which leads me to my next question. Where were the Spanish drivers in this race?
Well, unfortunately, Carlos Sainz, he's been pretty consistent with scoring points in the Spanish Grand Prix. Of course, that's been with Ferrari, and now he's with Williams. And so in quali, in practice, the Williams did not look good.
It didn't look good at all.
It was kind of shocking. Like, they've looked progressively better in each race.
Yeah.
And then Barcelona comes around, and both Albon and Sainz, they just did not have it. The car wasn't quick.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on, but he didn't qualify well either. He qualified
17th.
Yeah, and he basically stayed at the very back of the pack all day long. I think he did move up a little bit.
He did. 14th. He ended 14th.
Yeah, so he ended up 14th, but nowhere near what he was really hoping for, I think, coming into the weekend. But then our other Spanish driver, Fernando Alonso, the Lion.
The Lion. So he's been having bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's shifted now because he finally got some points.
Yes, he definitely shifted gears and was able to find points this weekend.
He found a gear.
Yes, he found an extra gear.
Yeah.
Nobody knew he had. But he had a really good qualifying.
Good qualifying.
And then during the race, did well.
He did all right.
Yeah, I mean, he did like run
off.
I think he ran off at one point, but he recovered well. And, near the end, he was behind Bortoleto and Lawson and was able to pass them. And I was a little disappointed because F1 TV, they didn't capture that, partially because there was a whole bunch of other action going on that we'll talk about.
There was a lot of drama.
But so I was hoping that they were going to go back to it, but they never did because of all the other drama. So, but yeah, he hometown favorite. Everybody cheers for him. But he did really well. Did well in qualification too. So I think I already said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was very proud of him.
Yeah, I was a little bit shocked that Sainz wasn't in it at all. Like, he was gone, and you could see the same thing with Albon.
Yeah, but
Albon was struggling, and
Albon
was like wrecking all over the place too. So
yeah, it's like he was struggling, ended up running his front wing off, and
with Liam Lawson.
With Liam Lawson, your favorite.
Liam Lawson.
I know. But yeah, I mean, going, Sainz and Alonso. I thought Alonso was great.
Alonso was great, yeah.
So it's amazing, like, how well he's done. He was making passes that nobody else was on certain curves.
That's right, yeah.
Turns and everything. And but it also, like, Aston Martin each weekend has kind of improved.
They have improved.
I mean,
well,
a little bit. Like,
a little bit.
Doing better in qualifying.
A little bit, yeah.
But last weekend and this weekend, and then during the race, he's done better. The last weekend his engine blew.
But I think they have potential. And I don't know if you heard Adrian Newey. Was talking about their wind tunnel and that their wind tunnel is not totally calibrated to the car and how it, I guess, drives on track. So if they're going to do anything, they first have to fix their issues, I think, in the wind tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
But with 2026 right around the corner, I'm sure they'll do fine, and that'll give some inspiration to the Lion, and hopefully he'll do better next year.
Yeah.
But this year, he's doing okay.
He's doing all right.
It's better. At least he's showing up to the races, right? So
it's so harsh. So harsh.
Yeah. Side note, did you hear Horner called Adrian Newey a booger?
No.
Yes.
Really?
Because of his all green attire. A booger with the notebook.
That's funny. Yeah.
Anyway, so it was a week of tantrums, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had tantrums with Stroll, which we already covered. And there were some other tantrums in the paddock. But
huge.
Yes. Before we get there, Tsunoda. What is going on with Tsunoda?
Oh, dude. That's rough. Qualification.
Dead last in quali.
Dead last. And like Verstappen's with third. How huge of a difference is this car? And, they ask, I saw a quote from Verstappen about this, and he comments, he was like, Yuki's not a pancake, which in Dutch, that's kind of like a pancake's basically a flake that's, not capable of doing anything. So,
right.
So he's basically saying, hey, Yuki's a capable driver. So he's kind of got his back there in the quote, but it's, I don't know what it is. Now I will say,
I don't think it's the pressure.
I don't think it's the pressure. I think it's something to do with like his ability to drive that type of setup on the car. Yeah. I guess. I mean, is that where you're going as well?
Yeah, I think at some point they have to do two different programs. And I know that's difficult with the cost cap, and they're going to develop the car to the fastest driver. But with the setup that it has, we know what the car is capable of, right?
Yeah.
Because Max is getting that much out of it. That means the potential for that much more is there for the second driver.
Right.
But if that driving style doesn't suit that other driver, then at some point they have to do something. Like, we can't just pretend it's not a problem at this point.
I mean, they all know it's a problem, but looking at, okay, so Max Verstappen, he has a specific driving style,
right?
Specific setups that he obviously performs very well with. So why don't they have more of those same setups on the F2, F3, and then also the Racing Bulls car, if that's their development team?
Oh, that's
so then good, all of these question. Guys as they come up, I mean, or is it all set up the same? So then that's really how big of a difference it is.
So you're saying set up the RB car, the Racing Bulls car, and some of their feeder or whatever their feeders are to mimic the actual Red Bull, so that when they do drive the Red Bull, they're driving in accordance to the style
exactly
that suits the car the best.
If they're not doing that, why are they not doing it?
Right.
Like, I would think that's an automatic that they should be doing that. But then you have every driver that comes out of the Racing Bulls team that can't drive the Red Bull car.
Well, because it's a completely different animal, isn't it?
Oh, it's a totally different animal. But they should be training these guys.
Well, it shouldn't be.
Even if they're on
it's what you're arguing.
Yeah. I mean, they ought to be driving, like, even in the Sims, they ought to be driving the same way that Max Verstappen's driving, and they ought to teach them that. If they really want these guys to come up and have a development squad, they ought to be freaking developing them in the right way. And they're not. They're just not doing it. So Christian Horner needs to fix the freaking situation.
He's got to fix his freaking
cars. Yes.
Wow. Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that's one way to approach it, for sure.
I think it's a great way to approach it. If they're not already, they may already be.
It is a good way to approach it.
And if they're already doing that, then that just shows how great Max Verstappen is.
Right. And I don't think they are, because I don't think the other drivers in the other team would be able to drive at that same level that they're currently driving. Look at Hajar, right? Hajar's like what'd you say? Like, they're playing hide and seek with Red Bull because he's he's doing well. And Liam Lawson's not doing that bad anymore, right?
Right.
And then you see Yuki at the end of the field. So, something's wrong there.
Yeah.
They should change the program for everybody so that everybody at least has an idea of how to perform, or how the car performs.
Yeah. And I think they look at Lawson, and they, like, part of the reason why he was selected over Tsunoda originally is because he kind of has that attitude that Verstappen has. Yeah. Like, you see Lawson, like, giving Perez the bird last year, like bumping cars, he hits people more. Like, right or wrong, it can be annoying, sure. But that type of attitude seems more like Verstappen's than anybody else that's out there on the grid.
Right.
Then you've got Hajar, who's like outperforming Lawson, and was outperforming Tsunoda as well all year. And so, like, you see memes of him like hiding behind hiding underneath the desk, trying to stay away from Red Bull seeing him because he didn't want to have happen what everybody else has had happen that's gone to that second seat.
I think he needs to get out of that program pretty quick.
Man.
Show what he can do in the Racing Bulls and try to hop into Alpine or something like that.
That might not be a bad idea.
Well, he's French.
Yeah, that's true. That might be a pretty good idea because,
So then what's next for Tsunoda? Is this his last year?
Oh, as a full-time driver, unless he turns things around pretty quick, I think so.
This is it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, people will talk about, maybe there's Aston Martin. He's not going to Aston Martin. I mean, as long as Lance Stroll's are there and Fernando Alonso's still wanting to drive, they're going to keep them over bringing in Tsunoda. Now, if Lance Stroll, if his wrist injuries are serious enough and then there's a vacancy, then maybe he goes there because he's tied with Honda and they're getting the Honda power unit. Maybe that happens, but
that's far-fetched.
Yeah, no, that's too many ifs and thens. Yeah. But I think any of the other scenarios for Tsunoda are somewhat like it's got to have this and this and this happen in order for him to go. But the other thing that Tsunoda does bring is he does bring capital and sponsorship if they're going with Honda.
Right.
So that might keep him around. Outside of that, I don't see him staying around much longer.
I agree with you.
If he doesn't perform. It's
100%.
His shot. Yeah.
Interesting.
Just got to pull a little Eminem out. No. Oh, look, let's keep going. That was horrible. We'll cut that later.
Right. All right. So what about Red Bull's pit calls? Like, what are we thinking about the last pit stop changing for hard tires? What do we think about that?
Oh, that is an excellent question. And I think that's the question that everybody's going to debate. You know, like, was it the right call? Should they have kept him out? Should they not have? Now, it's easy after the fact to say, hey, they should have kept him out. Yeah. When we're watching it and we're watching it together, you know, we're both like, dude, they should have kept him out. Why are they bringing him in? They're putting hard tire? What? No. Yeah. Like, nobody had ran hard tires the whole race. Yeah. Nobody did because they're it's
terrible.
It's terrible. So I think that it would have been better. Now, I say that, like, the tires that he had on, they had been on, he put the last set on lap 30, and then we're like around lap 60, lap 59 when the safety car comes out. So he's got somewhere around, I saw something, somewhere around 12 laps to go. I know the numbers that don't add up to 12 that I just said, but that's somewhere around in there. It's about how much he had on the hard tires. Now, I think that it was a bad call. Like, I would have kept him out on the same tires. Reason being, he would have been at the front. If in this scenario, if you keep him out on the tires, you're going to get passed by Piastri and Norris. If you put on the hard tires, you're not going to catch them in like 12 laps time.
Right. Exactly.
So why even put them on?
Right.
So then the question is, okay, if you keep the medium tires on, the used up medium tires, are you able to...
Was it a used medium or used soft?
It might have been used soft.
I think it was a used soft.
Yeah, used soft. So if you keep those on, are you able to make it and hold on to third place at that point?
Right.
So that's the question there. Or are you going to end up fourth? Because with that hard tire, you may not make third.
Was there a third option? Maybe could they have put on a set of scrubbed tires?
I guess. I mean, yeah. If that's that might have been an option. So they did have like a because he had a stint that wasn't that long where he could have used those tires. I think if that was an option, then go for that, or just keep him out and put him into first, and then let those guys pass. Because I think he could have held him off just enough to where he could have come in third. That's my opinion. I might be wrong on that. We'll never know.
I agree. Trust your driver, right?
You got the best driver in the world.
You've got the best driver on the field. He's extremely defensive.
Great pace all through the race.
Has great pace. Has free air if he were to stay out. And he's excellent at restarts.
Yeah.
Right. So why not let him out? Let him loose and see what he could do. You're right. He might have gotten caught, and yes, he might have gotten passed. Definitely by Piastri, probably by Norris. But he would have created enough of a gap, or at least maybe held him up to struggle with like Leclerc or Russell, right?
Right.
If he's slowing them down a little bit, then there's a little bit of drama happening, or even some conflict between Norris and Piastri, right? So if you let him out, let him loose, he goes and backs up the bunch, or he gets past and he maintains his spot instead of kind of falling behind. His tires weren't up to, they weren't hot enough, and look at what he was doing. He was just like a worm on the straights.
Right. I mean, like, he came out and lost a little bit of control, control of the rear, and Leclerc was able to pass him on those hard tires. Leclerc not being on the hard tires, but he was able to just easily pass him. There wasn't much they could do. They had a little bit of contact on it.
It was a bad call.
Yeah, it was a bad call. I think it was a horrible call. Yeah. I think even Verstappen knew. He's like, what did you do, guys?
Yeah.
I think they ruined his
upset.
Race.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think that he realized that they were, they didn't have another set, or that that's the set that they were going to put on.
Let's talk about his reaction.
Yes.
So you're given a bad set of hard tires.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is on fresher tires. They're they're good for what they're going to do for the last 10 laps.
Mm-hmm.
How do you react? Do you pull a Max and start ramming your car into everybody? Or
I don't think that was his first conscious decision. But
let me ask it again.
Yeah.
Do you just, what do you do?
Oh, gosh. The die has been cast, and you've got to live with it. So you've got these hard tires. So that you got to warm them up as much as possible while the safety car is still there.
Right.
Which he does. Like, you can see him, like, I was watching for that as the safety car is going around, and the safety car actually took an additional lap.
Right.
Like, the announcers were talking about, hey, why is the safety car still out? There's no reason for him to be. And he's, weaving
warming
the whole
up his tires,
time, warming them up. And none of the other cars are doing that with their tires because they're all on better tires.
Right.
But he is doing that. I think he did the best that he could. He came out like the very last curve coming around on the straightaway, and he lost it. Went a little bit wide, lost control, regained control, but that was enough to where Leclerc, saw that opening, pulled up next to him, waved at him, and then, had a little gentlemanly touch of cars as they drove by.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that like those two things with the tires and him having to have like a few laps of like, oh my gosh, I got to warm these up. Why did they do this? Why did we do this? That may not have been going through his head at that point, but I think that there was frustration just from having to have the hard tires and knowing that they weren't going to perform, that he had to do extra to get it done.
Right.
And then and then plus like when Leclerc passes him and kind of touches him, I think that kind of sets him off a little bit. And then right after that,
he spiraled.
Yeah, right after that, Russell hits him. But it's kind of a clean pass.
It is.
He gets him to the apex technically by the rules, and kind of hits Verstappen, knocks Verstappen off the road, and then he's triggered at that point. So he's had basically like three things happen to him right in a row. Illegal, two really, really close, and two of those being like a contact on the car.
A perfect recipe for a Max Verstappen blow up.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. He invited him. He's like, hit the pit wall, tells him, hey, give the place back, right?
Yeah.
He obviously doesn't want to do it.
Right.
He says it. He says so on the radio. Kind of lets him through, invites him to take the place, and then speeds up and bumps him.
Yes.
On the inside.
That was nuts.
That was
so crazy.
He's got to get some penalty points for that or something on his license.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, sure, I can see how the buildup of a bad call, getting hit multiple times, is going to lead you up to and a call from your pit wall to make you even further upset but that's an overreaction.
Yeah,
and that's dangerous.
It was
dangerous.
It was a dangerous overreaction right there. And at first when I first saw that, I was like, well, why? One of the things that we don't know is, did Verstappen have like some type of issue or anything? Like when it first happened, like I'm thinking, was he just not able to turn? But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, he looks like he hit him intentionally. And then when they show the replays, especially the one from above, you can see like his car just like speeds up right into him. You're like, oh my gosh,
this is wild. Right.
This is why Russell can't stand him.
And he didn't lock up. There was no smoke.
No lock up.
The car was facing straight. Like he wasn't even pretending. It's the impact allowed him to turn.
Yes,
because he wasn't even braking.
Yeah, his interview was like at the very end of the post-race show, and he was talking. He commented, that he really can't comment about it either right now.
Yeah, but nobody's surprised. There's like, oh, that's how Max drives. That's how Max drives.
Yeah. George Russell actually was saying, ask the interviewer, It's like, well, are you surprised about Max? And of course, the guy doesn't say anything. And then George Russell goes, yes, for all you viewers at home, he shook his head to the side, no, that he's not surprised. Just so you know.
Exactly. Well, that's just, it's not very professional. I feel like he should.
It's not.
Yeah.
There's a weird thing about racing and about sports that when you're racing, like it's like you don't want people to feel comfortable that they can pass you.
Right.
You don't want people to feel comfortable that they can do certain things to you and that you're not going to come back at them. But that seems like it's a little like you should do that between the lines, and that's not the right.
It was not between the
way
lines
to do it.
at all.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it was over the line there.
Get a taste of this. Bam.
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah, for
it's
what?
Like,
for
and
what?
you were going to give him the place back anyway in like 2 or 3 turns. So
right. So
just let him go.
Just let him go, and then if you're tired, there still was a chance. There were enough laps left that if his tires did get warmed up, that maybe he could have. Probably not. I don't think that it would have, but he at least would have been in 5th position. So 5th position's a lot better than what he ended up in, which is 10th position because of that penalty.
That's right.
So 1 point versus a whole lot more.
Ridiculous.
It really was.
Ridiculous.
It really was. And while all of that's going on, there's all sorts of other stuff that's going on the race too. Yeah. So Leclerc moving up.
Leclerc moved up. That's right. Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this might be unpopular, but I was hoping that they give Leclerc and Russell a penalty to give Hülkenberg his very first podium.
Yes.
Come on.
That would have been awesome.
FIA, open up an investigation. Let's give it to Hülkenberg by default.
There was
because come on. Leclerc did bump into Max.
He did.
I mean, it wasn't the worst thing in the world.
Yes.
But he had passed them somewhat and then bumped him. And in reality, I don't know.
Could be a racing incident, but could be a penalty.
He had enough room to keep going and pass him up completely without squeezing him and touching him.
He did.
And then for Russell, okay, sure. Russell's was maybe a little bit more clear that it was more of Russell's lane, but still he could have done more to give him, some space.
He could have,
right? Because he was squeezing him out as well. And that's why he left the track. So give them both a penalty and give Hülkenberg his first podium. That's what I think.
That would be awesome. I know that the Leclerc incident, that was under investigation at the end of the race. So I don't know if anything has been decided on that since then, but it's still a possibility as far as like what we know at the time that we started recording this. So that would be pretty awesome if that was the case, because Hülkenberg's had such a long career.
Yeah.
He was such a highly touted driver coming into F1, and he's never been on the podium.
I know.
And he's had chances, and he's on a horrible team, and their car actually performed really well this weekend.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
I'm hoping their car has like, where they check the skid block or whatever. Yeah. I'm hoping that they eliminate the car for Russell and Leclerc. I just want him to get a podium.
Anyway, it could happen.
Guy. Anyway, just make it happen.
Yeah.
Make it happen for me.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I'm just kidding. Okay, cool. So Oscar wins. It's his 5th win this season. He's looking like slowly becoming the favorite for McLaren to win. So what do you think about Canada? Will he win again?
I think I really think it's up to him and Norris on who's going to win. I like Piastri better than Norris. I think that now there are some times, I don't know, but I really like Piastri.
Right.
I really think that he's going to win this next weekend.
Yeah, I think so too. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's so like level-headed.
That's what I like about him.
He's a great competitor too. Like he doesn't he's not like he's not a Verstappen. He's just clean, does his race, no funny business.
He's
just great.
He's not going to lose his cool. He's going to stay
so chill.
Yeah,
and he knows, he's like, this is my goal. I'm gonna do my best to get there, doesn't happen. Next week, we'll get there.
You know, his mom, I think I may have mentioned this before, but his mom tells a story about him recently. They were out on a run or a jog or something, or a bike ride or something. Something athletic to where he had a heart rate monitor on and was monitoring that, and she fell. And he had to help her out and everything. But through the whole thing, he acted super calm and everything. They went back and checked the heart rate monitor, and his heart rate spiked. But yet, his emotions in his face were total, stone cold. Like he always.
There's probably some methodology he takes in, I don't know.
So he probably has some Zen methodology. He's learned. I think he does have. But he's got that type of personality. But then the other thing, when he drives, and you saw at the beginning of today's race, you've got him on pole and then Norris in second. And when both of them start, he clearly pulls away from Norris. So you've got the same car. Yeah. And he's just flawless. Yeah, flawless. And for whatever reason, when he Norris just can't start like that. There's
never start like that.
Yeah, the little things that help you win a race, he's able to do.
Yeah.
Norris sometimes does them, but I think that Piastri is just more consistent with it.
Consistency.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I think that he's going to keep winning.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I give it to Piastri. Well, I guess let's get to some of our predictions. Unless there's something else you want to touch on before.
There's more that we could probably touch on, but predictions, we could go ahead and do those for next week.
Okay, cool. So for Canada, I think it's going to be Piastri, Norris, Leclerc. A redo of this week.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, man. Piastri and Norris definitely 1-2. And I'm going to say Russell for third.
Russell.
Yeah. I could see, so one of the things...
I don't agree.
I know, but you just told me. No, but here's
I know.
I know you just told me that it was
said Leclerc.
So, but here's the thing: when we look at the race this week and we look at last week's race, Ferrari seems like in Monaco they kind of stepped up a little bit. Yeah. And everybody was like, it's Monaco. They always do better on street rate. Blah blah blah. And so I wasn't expecting them to do better in Barcelona, but yet. They did. And so we've got through a lot of the race, in quali, they were a little bit better than the Mercedes, but they're neck and neck, right?
Right.
During the race, same thing, neck and neck. And Mercedes at times seems like they might be a little bit better. Monaco, we had an engine blowout, and then Antonelli's engine blows out this weekend. So Russell ends up fourth. Hamilton's a little bit further back. So, they're right there together.
They're right there.
And, last year, Russell had a great ride in Montreal. And I think that he potentially could do that again.
Oh,
he still has a great car, still competitive.
He does.
Yeah. It's not a McLaren, but
that's right.
It's Mercedes powered.
If you asked me in the beginning of the season, I'd say, or after the first two races, I would have said Russell all the way.
Yeah.
Especially because he's been consistently third. Mm-hmm. But it seems like something's going on with that car.
That's true.
In the last two races. Mm-hmm. So, is it something Toto should be nervous about? I don't know. But Ferrari's doing better than they were before. So who knows? Maybe they can kind of take this and take that momentum and.
Yeah, I think that overall, Ferrari's going to continue to increase now. But I don't know. I could see Leclerc being on the podium.
It could go anyway, for sure.
But I got to have at least one that's competing against yours.
Right.
That I just don't see Piastri and Norris not being at the top.
Yeah, I agree.
Top two.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I don't see Verstappen. I don't see him, maybe being top four, if that. Yeah.
Really? I think he should be top 5 this next weekend, but I don't know. It's so tough to say with that car. Yeah. He's a potential for top 3. Yeah, but
he's always a potential for winning for sure. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't see it, especially with this attitude.
Yeah,
I could see him in 4th. I could see him in 5th. But
although he's such a freaking competitor, he's going to look at all that stuff,
sure,
and he's going to be ticked off about it. And usually the greats they have something that. They get mad about something and they can't let it go.
Yeah.
And it just eats at them, and
Right.
then it pushes them like to an extra gear, so to
That's
speak.
right.
And keeps pushing them to where they achieve things that are greater than
Yeah.
others. So maybe it does. Maybe we
Yeah.
see Verstappen do that this next race.
Well, for
I
the
don't know.
Verstappen fans, I hope that comes true.
Thank you, Daniel. 'Cause I am. Me too. But yeah, definitely with that.
For me, I would like Hamilton to be, top 4, and that's my driver
cool.
right now.
Yeah, I mean, your favorite driver. I mean, is that still your? Tell me about your favorite.
Yeah, so my favorite
drivers,
driver
Daniel.
right now
Yeah.
is Hamilton. If
Okay.
Perez were to come back mid-season
Yes,
or
and
next year,
at
then
any
it would
time.
be Perez.
Right.
And then probably Leclerc as a third.
And why is that?
Well, because his girlfriend is half Mexican.
Oh,
So-
really? Nice.
So,
nice. Okay.
yeah.
All right. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So we had, I mean, there's other things too. I don't know how, I don't know if we have enough time to talk about all this stuff.
There's a lot.
so much. I mean, Alpine, there's stuff with them, but yeah, Colapinto.
Colapinto, that's right.
Gasly's just quietly doing a great job. Colapinto kind of at the back.
Well, yeah. Was he the pay driver for them is the question. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, he was looking good in Williams, not looking good in Alpine. So who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they find another pay driver. Maybe they find it in Yuki or something.
Yeah, possibly.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Maybe
Yeah.
they find it in Perez or maybe in Mick Schumacher.
That's true.
So
Possibly.
we'll see.
That's what the
we'll see.
rumor
He's
mill is.
got what, 2 more races before we get to see what Briatore does.
Yeah,
with that second
yeah.
seat. So anyway, Gasly's killing it for the most part, consistently in the midfield, getting the points, just being consistent. So we'll see how they do.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
All right, and last one for me, Terry Crews.
Yes.
Crews, right?
Yeah, Terry Crews,
Terry Crews. So, do you think F1 should take on Terry Crews as a commentator?
I think it'd be fun to have him on as a commentator. I always like hearing what he has to say. He always brings like this positive light and positive energy to every scenario that he's in on F1.
That's right. I could see him like being so happy and dancing. He can have a segment called the pecking order.
Yes, the pecking order. Yes.
Well, he
moves
while he
his
flexes.
flexes his pecs. Yes.
That was really interesting.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it was
nice to see.
good
Yeah.
stuff. Good stuff there.
Well, all right.
Yeah, all sorts of good things this
Yeah.
week. So we got Montreal coming up in a couple of weeks, and who knows? Maybe we'll see some Gophers come out on the track this next time. I don't know, but yeah, should be interesting coming up.
Should be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Nice little break. So
Yeah, next weekend's off.
that's it.
Yeah, so we get to recharge.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, you know what to do in your platforms. Like, follow, subscribe,
Yes, all that good stuff. Comment, share.
and
We love to hear from you. So yes. So, but whatever you do while
stay
you're out
passionate.
there, yes, live passionately. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Craig, thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye, guys.